Brazil's presidential candidates face each other on Sunday in their first debate ahead of the October 2nd elections, where former President Inácio Lula da Silva leads in the polls. In Libya, the death toll after clashes between supporters of the rival governments in Tripoli rises to 32. And Pakistan authorities confirmed the death of over 1,000 people due to floods caused by heavy monsoon rains affecting the country since mid-June. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. Brazil's presidential candidates face each other on Sunday night in their first debate ahead of the October 2nd elections, where former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva leads in all the polls. The candidates who participated in the first debate were Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the ultra-right Jair Bolsonaro, Simón Tebet, Soraya Trocne, Felipe Dávila, and Ciro Gomes. Lula stated his government will invest in health and housing and pointed out that when he took office there were over 3 million students, and by the end of his term the figure reached 8 million. Ciro Gomes explained the urgency for food security and education, key issues including environmental protection, the need for gender equality and economic protection, health, and the effects of the pandemic, as well as the political stability of the South American country. In Argentina, the deputies bloc of the Frente de Todos coalition condemned the Buenos Aires police violence against militants supporting Vice President Cristina Fernández. By means of a statement, the political coalition expressed its discontent for the repression committed by the capital's police forces against citizens and the vice president's son, Máximo Kirchner, on Saturday night. The political movement reiterated its solidarity with the militants who have been victims of violence and demanded that the Buenos Aires government, in the hands of Horacio Rodríguez Larreta, identify the police officers involved in the abuses. The bloc of deputies highlighted that they are evaluating the possibility of taking legislative, political, and legal actions in support of the former president. And the statement refers to the police aggression this Saturday against the demonstration in support of the Vice President of Argentina, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. The city police attacked the deputy and the son of the Vice President, Máximo Kirchner, and prevented him from passing when he was trying to get to his mother's house. Also, the deputy Hugo Yasky, several senators, and the mayor of Quilmes, Mayra Mendoza, rejected the aggression by Larreta's police. In Chile, a violent incident occurred this Sunday while a group of cyclists were carrying out a family activity on the occasion of the Apruebo in allusion to the upcoming referendum of September 4th. The incident occurred in an activity that took place in downtown Santiago, generating impact among those present, who immediately began to post videos of the incident on social networks. In one of the videos, you can see how the driver of a horse cart runs over the participants of the activity without warning, fleeing quickly, generating despair among those present. The incident reportedly occurred between the intersection of Pionono and Plaza Italia in downtown Santiago, Chile. Also in Chile, a family theater show in support of the Apruebo option in view of the September 4th referendum has generated controversy due to the inclusion of sexually laden representation involving the country's flag. The so-called performance by sexual dissidents was repudiated by all political sectors of the country, including the executive, which announced legal actions against the parties involved. The event was organized by a production company, and the local authorities involved said that they had not been informed that such a performance was included in the act. On Saturday, the police of the Colombian department of Antioquia detected an explosive device in the municipality of Ituango, minutes before the arrival of the President Gustavo Petro to meet with local authorities. The incident occurred near the educational institution Pedro Nelo Espina, where after the events, the president established a unified command post to stabilize the public order. The device was located by a sniffer dog and was detonated under controlled conditions. After the incident, the head of state ordered to analyze the security situation in Ituango and restated, his call for total peace to the armed groups. In Colombia, the Philharmonic Orchestra of Bogotá, together with other institutions, organized this Sunday the Concert for Truth and Peace. In the event, in which 16,000 children and young people from the capital schools performed classical pieces to celebrate truth and memory. The so-called biggest concert in the world was an occasion to celebrate the legacy of the Truth Commission. The activity is considered a milestone in the history of the music in the country due to its dimensions, and it's part of a series of cultural initiatives that pay tribute to the Commission, whose final report revealed the state's worst crimes, their consequences, as well as suggestions for non-repetition. And over the weekend, agents of the Secretariat for the Citizen Security and Protection in Chiapas, Mexico, rescued 82 Central American migrants who were traveling in 2 overcrowded trucks. According to a statement, the 2 vehicles were stopped for an immigration verification check. The migrants were rescued while the people driving the vehicles were detained in an operation coordinated with the police. 18 women, 60 men, and 4 children are the total amount of the rescued migrants, according to the report. The drivers of the both trucks were handed over to the immigration authorities on charges of human trafficking. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. In the United Kingdom, hundreds of British citizens protested in front of the gas and electricity market's headquarters due to the growing energy crisis. The protest was promoted by Don't Pay UK movement that calls for a massive strike over unpaid energy bills starting on October 1st. This happened after Ofgem announced on Friday an 80.06% increase in energy price peaks, which pushed the average household's annual bill from €1,971 to €3,549 as from October. Protesters also denounced that hundreds of citizens will be affected by these measures, while experts warned that people could die this winter due to high energy costs, especially low-income citizens, disabled and elderly people. Thousands of Palestinians imprisoned in Israel today dissolved the bodies that represent them before the Tel Aviv authorities as part of an escalation of protests demanding their rights. The Palestinian Prisoners Society said in a statement that now Israel's prison service, the IPS, will have to deal with the detainees individually. In recent days, tensions increased following the Palestinians' decision to remand their rights, while the prison service increased isolation times, removed electrical equipment from several sections, and mobilized additional security forces. The Supreme National Emergency Committee, which groups inmates from all Palestinian factions, agreed days ago to initiate a wave of protests to demand the implementation of what had agreed last June. Some 4,500 Palestinians are currently held in Israeli prisons, including 31 women and 175 minors. In Germany, the curtailing of Russian gas imports due to the war in Ukraine has prompted the decision of rebooting some closed coal power plants. However, infrastructure issues, manpower shortages, and logistical problems are proven to be major obstacles. Experts said that in many cases, such as restart may not be either technically, economically, or legally feasible. for many parts have been dismantled and sold. Even power plants that had not been completely shut but put in reserve to generate power only occasionally are struggling with a complete reboot. And in other cases, a plant's output will be affected by railroad capacity limits, inferring hard coal to the site. A daily record of more than 1,000 migrants arrived this weekend in 100 boats on the Italian island of Lampedusa. Lampedusa, one of the most dangerous routes that migrants follow to cross the Mediterranean and reach Europe. As confirmed by the Italian authorities to the local media, the refugee camp of Lampedusa is in a complex situation, currently housing 1,500 occupants for a total capacity of 350. Landings of migrants also continue on the coasts of southern Sardinia. In the last 36 hours, 84 have arrived, adding to the 132 others who arrived on August 26 and 27. Now we move on to other topics. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant of Ukraine received 2 artillery impacts. The attacks targeted radioactive material containers. A total of 17 projectiles were fired at the facilities of Europe's largest nuclear power plant. 4 of them hit the roof of the special facility where 168 U.S. technology nuclear fuel sets are stored. Another 10 projectiles exploded 30 meters from the nuclear fuel dry storage facility. Despite being blamed upon the corporative media, the Russian troops are present at the plant to ensure its control and security. And Russia on Sunday again accused Ukraine of shelling the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, claiming that the pipeline had been damaged in the latest attacks. Defense Ministry spokesperson Igor Knyazenkov said Ukraine was continuing its provocations, suggesting it intended to create the threat of a man-made nuclear disaster.
The Kiev regime continues its provocations with the aim of creating the threat of a man-made nuclear disaster at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Over the past day, 2 shellings by artillery units of the armed forces of Ukraine on the territory of the nuclear plant were recorded. A total of 9 missiles were fired, 3 of which fell in the area of Special Corps No. 2, which stores new nuclear fuel of the TVOL company and solid radioactive waste. As a result of the projectiles hitting the territory of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, a pipeline was damaged by shrapnel. As a result of a second shelling, 1 projectile fell in the area of the 6th power unit and the other 5 in front of a 6-unit bombing station which provides cooling for the reactor.
And despite the ongoing military conflict in Ukraine, on Sunday, 7 grain-laden ships were authorized to depart from Ukrainian ports, including the port in Odessa. Together, the ships are carrying a total of 210,294 tons of grains like corn and other staples like wheat and barley. The ports of destination are China, Turkey, Romania, Egypt, Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands. On Saturday, Sudanese UN Black Sea Initiative Coordinator Amir Mahmoud Abdullah said exports of Ukrainian agricultural products have surpassed 1 million tons since the launch of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. As the exports grow, so does confidence and prices come down. Since the operations began on August 1st, dozens of voyages have been enabled. The Black Sea Grain Initiative was agreed upon and launched in Istanbul by Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and the United Nations on July 22nd this year. And teleSUR will dedicate its coverage of the Football World Cup Qatar 2022 to the figure of Diego Armando Maradona, who accompanied their crew in the last 2 World Cups. With the football star, we also toured our continent with the show The Sur da Viajero. We want this tribute to have its own music. With that in mind, we invite you to write or compose a song for teleSUR's coverage of Qatar 2022 Football World Cup. It must be an original song, never recorded before or published in any media, and free of legal attachments. Record of the song in any format you have. WAV, MP3, even with your cell phone, and send it as an attachment to comunicaciones.telesurenglish.net with the following information: author's name, nationality, and the title of the song. The closing date of the call for entries is September 10th, 2022. A jury of prestigious musicians and composers from the region will select the winning piece. The prize will be the recording of the song, a video clip, and the wide diffusion of the work. 1 week after the closing of the call, teleSUR will announce the results. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. Health authorities registered 32 dead and 159 injured in Libya in clashes between supporters of rival governments in the capital. According to a health ministry report, the death toll continues to rise due to the armed conflicts between the groups loyal to the leader of the National Unity Government, Abdul Hamid Mohamed Dbeya, and supporters of Libya's parliament-elected Prime Minister Fari Bashaga. Handguns have been fired, explosions have occurred, and vehicles and buildings have been set on fire. This comes after Fari Bashaga sent a letter to Dbeya demanding that he step down after the interim prime minister refused to hand over power without holding elections. And the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, issued an administrative order that furloughs thousands of military reservists and draftees mobilized during the years of war facing the nation since 2011. The decision covers officers who completed 1 year of actual service, while demobilizing non-commissioned officers and reservists who completed more than 6 years. Likewise, non-commissioned officers born before 1983 will be discharged if they have completed at least 2 years of service. The administrative order takes effect as of October 1st, 2022, and it is the largest one issued since the beginning of the conflict. Authorities stress that such decisions were made taking into account the data on the ground and the preservation of the troops' combat readiness. Afghan Defense Minister Mohammad Yaqub Mujahid accuses Pakistan of providing airspace for U.S. drones to enter the country. Mujahid's comments come less than a month after the U.S. President Joe Biden announced the killing of al-Qaeda chief Ayman al-Zawahiri, an event yet to be recognized by the Taliban officials. There was no immediate response to Mujahid's comments from the Pakistani military, but he had previously denied allowing the country's airspace to be used. Border tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan have risen since the Taliban seized power on August 15th last year, with Islamabad claiming regular attacks carried out from the neighboring country.
The drone aircraft overflying Afghanistan represents a clear invasion by the Americans of Afghanistan and its airspace. And we have made a lot of efforts through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other diplomatic channels to convey this to them and put our objection forward in the meetings.
In India, 2 100-meter-high illegal residential towers were demolished this Sunday in the suburbs of New Delhi. The implosion, which lasted a few minutes, was broadcast live by Indian television channels. This was an unusual example of steadfastness on the part of the authorities against corruption by the real estate developers and local authorities. After 9 years of legal battle, in 2021, the Supreme Court ruled that the structures had been built illegally. Together, they totaled 1,000 apartments that had never been inhabited. Thousands of nearby residents and stray dogs were evacuated prior to the demolition, the largest ever recorded in India. Companies sometimes build extra floors or towers using substandard materials, while public officials are bribed to look the other way. In the suburbs of Delhi, it is estimated that more than 100 residential towers have been abandoned, disfiguring the landscape and giving those areas the appearance of gloomy ghost towns. Now we address other topics. In Pakistan, the country's authorities expect new monsoon rains to affect millions of people in the next few days after accumulating over 1,000 deaths. Floods caused by the monsoon rains have affected almost 33 million people in the country, while authorities are warning about the rise of Indo River in Sindh province, mainly due to heavy rains and glacial melting. Dam managers near the city of Sukur in the same province warned that due to the flooding of the water affluents, the floodgates were opened to avoid an incident in the infrastructure, an action that endangers the families already affected by the rains. teleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order it from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on the screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now, more than ever, the world connects to us and our stories are heard in other farther away nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. So we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And now, you can also follow us on TikTok account at teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. For teleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.